Is the academy ready to take the next step at Hull City and help the first team out under the current situation? Hello there and welcome back to the HullCityFanCentral YouTube channel, where today we'll be going through some of the key under-21 players that have made the journey out to Turkey with the senior squad and go through which ones of them could be a key figure this season, with of course the transfer embargo currently still under place, the fee restriction, Hull City not allowed to buy any players and only allowed to sign loans with no fees attached to them or freeze. The academy could provide some pivotal answer points. So go through that, plus of course the bits of transfer news that we do have surrounding Hull City. Now, we're expected to hear back from the appeal case to the EFL today at some point. So, of course, I'll have that out in my video tomorrow, detailing all what went down. Hopefully, if it does get sort of released today, the case of the appeal, I'll go through that in the video tomorrow. So stay tuned on the channel for that. So one big sort of talking point from Hull City's camp today, well, there's kind of been two, but the sort of the key one surrounding current Hull City player, we'll put that in parentheses, is Gustavo Puerta. Now, we do know about Gustavo Puerta on loan, of course, last season. We triggered the obligation to buy last season and then signed him, albeit it was officially announced and everything, but he's not an official Hull City player to this day, because the day when he was meant to sign his contract, and of course the money was meant to go over to Bayer Leverkusen, and Gustavo Puerta was meant to officially become a Hull City player, well, that can't happen because of the fee restriction. Of course, we can't pay the money to make him a permanent switch. Of course, it's already been announced and everything, and it was their last season obligation to buy triggered everything. So it's kind of an interesting case. But Gustavo Puerta is expected to leave Hull City. He's not been a part of any of the pre-season friendlies. I believe he can't be, although you maybe could make an option to say that he could be a trialist or something, but because of the certain situation around it, I presume that he can't. He has been in Hull City's camp, so he has been training with the squad. I believe that he made the flight out to Turkey. I'm not 100% sure on that one. I know Reda Leao did, and of course he's not officially a Hull City player at the moment as well. Of course, this is all pending the appeal process, but the sort of official word is that the Colombian will be forced to switch clubs this summer, and they are already analysing offers. Apparently, we will be selling him, is one of the reports that I've seen. I'm not 100% sure if that's true, because of course if he's not our player, I presume he would be triggered as a free target, or it would be a Bayer Leverkusen sale. I presume it would be a Bayer Leverkusen sale, but I'm not 100% sure on this one because it's quite a sort of interesting, unique case, albeit. So we're going now into the academy, and then we've also got a big talking point on Friggin. It seems like that deal is closer to being done than anyone ever thought it might be. So let's go straight into some of the under-21 players that are out with the senior squad in Turkey. So a little article out from Hull City, sort of Harry Vaughan detailing each one of them and his opinion on them, and then I'll sort of give my view on them. So Callum Yam, the goalkeeper, of course, I believe he played half of the game on Tuesday in the pre-season friendly against Istanbulspor, where we won 2-1. His goalkeeper, age 19. Yami is probably one of the nicest people I have met. He is always the first one to make conversation and greet people. He's got a great mullet too. It suits him. As a keeper, he's very good with his feet, and his distribution is one of his key attributes. He's really good at beating the press with his passes and his passing skill, and he has a lot of composure on the ball. Yami is a really nice lad and a top keeper. So Callum Yam, of course, sort of, he's in a bit of a good position at the moment for a youth Hull City goalkeeper. He's sort of the top one in the academy, if you're not counting Lotu Tyler and Harvey Cartwright. Of course, those two are far more experienced than Callum Yam, who's only 19 years old. You expect both of them. Well, I mean, Lotu Tyler already is out on loan for this entire season. You expect Cartwright to be sort of, once Hull City can get some sort of club to promise him senior football at somewhat of a consistent rate, out on loan at a competitive level. You expect Callum Yam to be the the then next top one in Hull City sort of academy rankings once them two have gone out on loan. Of course, Lotus, I say, is already out on loan. So Callum Yam got quite a nice sort of prospect about him. You hope that he can sort of provide something a bit further down the line. Maybe in a year or two's time, he could be the backup goalkeeper to Ivor Panda. And then maybe if we sort of get into a case where we have to sell Panda, or Panda wants to move on, or whatever have you, Callum Yam could hopefully become the number one keeper, and we've hopefully sort of helped him develop to that point where he would be a very, very good number one keeper for what level we're at. So Callum Yam, I think this is sort of him being in the senior camp is telling him that the club are ready for him to take the next step, and that he is himself ready to take the next step. Only young, only 19 years old. Of course, could go out on loan, could get the development there, but I think that his season might be better suited to have a full season in the under-21s, maybe be called upon in an opportunity. Of course, you don't wish injury upon anyone, but he could be called up if Dylan Phillips or Ivor Panda, touch wood, this doesn't happen, do go down injured. So you always want that sort of option in the background. Of course, only a few seasons ago, we had a couple of keepers go down, and Harvey Cartwright was our starting keeper for a few games. So anything can happen, and Callum Yam is a good option to have, not only as a shot stopper, but also as that distribution and playing out from the back. Now, Cathal McCarthy, he's a young, another young one, of course, but relatively new to the academy. We've talked about him in the past couple of videos, as he's been majorly impressing, especially in the second half on Tuesday against Istanbulspor. So go through. Cathal McCarthy, defender, centre-back, aged 18. Cathal is top. I noticed straight away that his attributes are really suited for English football. He's a big lad, and I think he'll do well over here. Hopefully, he can keep progressing and make it to the first team and do well. As a person, I've only met him in a few sessions, but first impressions are he is a really nice lad, and he gets on with everyone, and he fits into the group. Cathal McCarthy is one that you want to keep your eye on in the academy process. He may be called upon at some points this season for the senior squad. That's how much he has impressed so far, and think back, he only signed with Hull City in February. This is his first season, or first pre-season with the Tigers. He's already gone out with the senior squad to Turkey. He was with them in Cottingham. Didn't go out with the under-21s to Maribor. He's certainly impressing in the training ground, and hopefully this can produce to somewhat of a positive and a sort of a lightning in a bottle moment to have him on the field and really taking over. Of course, centre-back, there is some doubt at the moment in the centre-back partnership with Alfie Jones, Sean McLaughlin, both getting offered sort of different offers for various clubs. Was John Egan's had a bit of interest, although Hull City were quick to dismiss that one. So to have Cathal McCarthy as your fourth choice centre-back, someone that you can have on the bench in a pinch, but also play under-21s, a little bit similar to a Harry Vaughan role last season, where he's playing under-21s football, then getting on the bench, and then even getting some appearances, some starts for the senior squad in the championship. So Cathal McCarthy, certainly one to watch, and this one could be a quick turnaround from a prospect in the academy to someone who is impacting heavily on the field for Hull City. So Stan Ashby, of course, we know the name Ashby. This is the son of legendary Hull City footballer Ian Ashby. We've talked about him to some extent over the past couple of years. Only 18 years old, still another centre-back. It's crazy, as I think Ash is my age, but he's only 18. He looks way older than he is, and he with his beard as well. We get on really well. He's a top player for his age. He's doing so well, and hopefully he's a starter in the next couple of years, as he has that potential. We talked about this in the video a couple of weeks ago, detailing the academy before the whole fee transfer restrictions and the embargoes war going under. We talked about Stan Ashby really benefit from a full season out on loan somewhere in League One or League Two. Getting a full season of senior football under his belt would mean the world for Stan Ashby. only 18 years old, but he's been so pivotal for so long. He's been that name on the back of your mind in the Hull City camp for so many years. I feel like I've been talking about Ashby for a couple of years. I would have thought that he would be older than 18. He's only 18 years old, which thinks he was doing wondrous stuff at the age of 15, 16. He's already getting called up for Ireland's under-21s, I believe, or under-18s, getting youth international caps. And so I feel like a full season of senior football for him. Of course, that's not going to be provided at Hull City, but it could be provided at somewhere out in League One, League Two. You look at what's happened with Hull City's youth, these sort of fringe youth players in the past, where they've gone out on loan, they've impressed, and maybe they've picked themselves up a deal for wherever they've gone, or Hull City have taken them back in and really provided them something internally. So certainly one that I think would still benefit majorly from a season out on loan. So a left back here. I mean, it might be a case of he's going to be called upon soon. Ed Devine. I known Ed when he came up from the under-18s to the under-21s last year, which was quite a lot. He's a Hull lad, and you can see how much he loves Hull and how much he wants to play for the first team. He's come into pre-season and played well, and he has definitely impressed me. So I think he has a big future ahead of him. So Ed Devine, of course, 18 years old again, sort of one of these fringe players, under 18s to under 21s. I think he will get the full season in the under 21s. I highly doubt he's going out on loan with, of course, the sort of situation with the left back place at Hull City. He could be called upon in a pinch. It probably won't come down to that because there is other players that can fill in out of position in left back, as we saw last season. But it's nice to have that option in there. Didn't do too badly in the pre-season friendlies that we've seen of him. Of course, we'll be keeping more of an eye on him as pre-season progresses. Certainly someone that gives that sort of air of, in a couple of years' time, you could be evaluating and seeing what has he got to prove for himself. A little bit similar to Brandon Fleming a couple of years before he was making a senior team debut, where if things break right, he could have sort of a role in this squad. And then if he can take that chance and he can take it and run with it, well then all the better for it. He's a young player who can take that chance. Of course, we saw Matty Jacob were taking that chance at various different points last season, and he's got himself a move out on loan to Reading for this season, which is quite a competitive standard of football. So Ed Devine, another one, a little bit similar to Callum Yam, where in a couple of years he could be a bit of a figurehead in the Hull City squad, whether that be on the bench, first team, or could be going out on loan, and you could be thinking, hang on, we've got a player here that could be pivotal for us in the coming seasons. Nathan Tinsdale, another one that's been sort of talked about for a few seasons now. Another a midfielder, central midfielder. Of course, we might need a central midfielder at some point this season with Alzate possibly moving and Gustavo Puerta. I mean, not even a tiger. Age 19, Tinny is a proper Yorkshire boy. He's really nice and easy to talk to, and a top player. He's changed up his hair recently, and he now has a taper, which is decent. He is unbelievable on the ball, and he's got a great technical ability. One of his main attributes is he can receive the ball in tight areas and drive forward and can create chances. I mean, that's something that would have been quite nice to have last season. It's fun to know here, Harry Vaughan sort of just detailing each player's different hair choices. He must really like hair for some reason, our lad Harry. Yeah, it's nice to have sort of one of these sort of your own prospects in Nathan Tinsdale, who can sort of provide something a little bit different to what you have currently going in the squad. He feels like someone that could, in a season or two, whenever Regan Slater decides to move on from Hull City, he could replace Regan Slater's role in this squad. It feels like a somewhat of a like-for-like situation where he feels a little bit similar to that Regan Slater of old. Not that Regan Slater is ancient or anything, but Regan Slater from when we first got him for 50 grand, and it was sort of that sort of ball of energy, that sort of different changer, the change maker in the midfield. So certainly one that could have a different role in the coming years. maybe could benefit from a season out on loan, or maybe a 6-month loan and then 6 months in the internal academy. So we'll keep an eye on that one, but another one that in a few years' time could have some big impact. Now we're moving on to certainly 3 players that could have a big impact this season. Of course, it's attacking players. So first of all, we'll start off with Zayn Meers, a winger, 19 years old. I'm sharing a room with Zayn on this trip to Turkey. Me and him got on so well after spending a lot of time in the under-21s. His 1v1 ability is quite scary, and when he first came in, he was a left back. I don't know how he was a left back now, as all I can see him is as a right winger. He's got good technical ability and can create things out of nothing. He's a special player. A little bit similar. He's done a little bit of a reverse from King Lewis Potter. Of course, Lewis Potter was a winger and now a left back at Brentford. He's kind of done a little bit of the opposite, Zayn Meers. Certainly is someone that could, this season, be called upon in a pinch and could impress quite a lot of people in the Championship. A little bit similar to how Will Jarvis did at the start of last season before, of course, Tim Volter sort of ruined that relationship there and all that broke down, and Will Jarvis is no longer at Hull City, of course. But certainly someone that could... He could make his chance, get called up upon if there's an injury off, or if sort of a matchup particularly favours having an extra sort of player like Zayn Meers there. He could really impress. I have a feeling that he could make an appearance this season. He could be called upon. We've seen him a few times named on the bench. I don't think he's got a senior cap yet for Hull City, but certainly this season could be his time to impress. And I think that once Zayn Meers gets the role, or gets somewhat of a role, he could be a name that we're talking about in the Hull City squad for a little bit of time. He's maybe not as prominent as the other 2 attackers that we're going to talk about in a second, but Zayn Meers certainly one with a bit more development, and of course with that defending know-how as well. He's sort of providing himself to be a bit of a all-rounder in all situations, a winger who can 1v1, technical know-how, get the ball in, but also can provide something extra in the defensive departments, being formerly a defender. Of course, left back. He can play left back in a pinch. That might be what we need as well. So Farrell Brown next, of course. We know about Farrell Brown. We talked about him with his fantastic winner against on Tuesday in the Turkish pre-season friendly. Faz is 5 minutes away from me from where I originally am in Manchester. We have a lot in common and we spent a lot of time together. He is in a similar position to me, so it's quite good to have him here. He's done well in training and we learn off each other as we are similar ages as well. Farrell Brown, he is someone that you're going to want to watch this season. I have a feeling he's going to start off with the academy, but it might not be too long before he is called up upon and he makes a few appearances like Harry Vaughan did last season. I can probably say that his season this season might be somewhat of a parallel to Harry Vaughan last season, and he could probably provide a bit more compared to Harry Vaughan. Of course, Vaughan wasn't played in the best sort of roles last season, I don't think. And Farrell Brown, of course, this season could very well done. Of course, Jukanovic has already played him well. He's already grabbed a goal this pre-season. He's got more goals than I have this pre-season, so that's certainly something. So Farrell Brown certainly won another lightning in a bottle sort of moment player that this season, with, of course, the lack of the attackers, with the lack of... goals that could come from this squad. Of course, it'll change with Jukovic's tactics, as we talked in yesterday's video, but Farrell Brown could be certainly a difference maker for Hull City, and at a point in the season where maybe it looks like they're struggling to get goals, call upon Farrell Brown. He could make a spot start in one game and he could grab a hat-trick. It seems like one of these players where you give him an inch, he'll take a mile, lightning in a bottle, capture it when you can. So certainly one that will be very exciting to watch his season this season, whether it's in the under-21s, whether it's in the senior team, or whether it's possibly out on loan. I highly doubt it, but Farrell Brown, one to watch. And then finally, Tyrell Fleming. Now, he's probably going to get more senior action than any other player that we've talked about. Of course, striker in himself, department that needs talking about, but we'll talk about another possible striker in a second in Friggum that's possibly on his way in. Age 20, so oldest out of the young lads here. So Tyrell Fleming, what did Harry Vaughan have to say? Well, he's not the best table tennis player, but he is as a footy player. I have nothing but good words to say about Ty. He has everything to be a good striker. He's fast, strong, can hold up the ball so well. That is one of his main attributes, is he's really easy to play off. For me, I'd like to combine with players, and I think Ty is really good at it, so it suits with me. We play well together, and as a person, he's a top lad, and I have nothing but good words to say about him. Well, Tyrell Fleming's already impressed at spots this season. Get my words out. Certainly impressed at different parts this season. He's grabbed a goal already. Looked like he was going to grab 2 in the pre-season friendly on Tuesday. Has impressed this pre-season, has impressed last season in his sort of little cameo roles. And I think certainly with the tactics of Jurkiewicz, as we've talked about, well, things could progress nicely for Tyrell Fleming, and he could be a player this season where he could start a game and you could switch him out with Kyle Joseph. He could be playing off the striker. You could, with this adaptability format that sort of Jurkiewicz is going for, well, Tyrell Fleming could be the perfect candidate to have the breakout year for any of the academy lads. Of course, we know a bit more about him. Of course, he's maybe not the, quote, lightning in a bottle that I've said about the other players, because he's had a bit more chances than other people. But has he got something to prove this season? Certainly. Will he prove it? I have no doubt that he won't. He will prove himself this season. Get me words straight. He will prove himself this season in a big aspect. He could be the player that Hull City call upon. He probably is going to be the player that Hull City call upon in a pinch, as it was in some cases last season. And I think Tyrell Fleming this season could have the best season for any of these lads that we've mentioned. Of course, that's mainly down to the fact that Tyrell Fleming is probably going to get majority of the game time. I could be completely proven wrong, and Farrell Brown could get quite a lot of game time and could become Hull City Player of the Year. That's sort of the case with these sort of fringe players in the academy, the ones that have gone to Turkey. Certainly keep an eye on all of them, but certainly the ones where I've said, if they've got lightning in a bottle potential where they could be featured in the squad this season, we'll keep an eye on them. We'll close out the video talking about Mateo Friggum. So, article coming out today from Baz Cooper. Of course, he's currently in Turkey. Well, City are currently in talks with Veselu over a loan move for 22-year-old Croatian frontman who played for Jurkiewicz at Rijeka, as the Tigers look to bolster their attacking ranks. Owner Adrian Ilajali had hoped to sign Friggum on a permanent deal, but those hopes were quickly put on ice early this month when the club were hit by a transfer embargo and then the fee restriction by the EFL amid concerns over the club's spending. While City can now sign players on loan and free transfers, any loan deal for Friggum would mean the Championship club cannot pay Veselu a fee, though that's not expected to be a problem. All reports that I've sort of got from it is that Friggum wants to come to Hull City. Jurkiewicz wants him to be there, sort of the big target, so to speak, for Jurkiewicz this summer. And we've all been hearing the positive reports coming out about Friggum. So hopefully, with maybe the appeal process coming out positive today, but even if it doesn't, it sounds like Friggum is on his way to becoming a Tiger, which would help these attacking ranks. But if it doesn't, well, fear not. The academy have something to certainly prove about it. I will keep you saying everything Hull City has to say in tomorrow's video. Will hopefully be breaking down what has happened with the appeal process for Hull City. And of course, stay tuned on the channel by liking and subscribing, as I'll see you in the next video. So, up the Tigers!